Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.
Good evening, this is Football Then and Now. This is Stuart Palmer, and look who is back after 3 months off. It is the co-host and my cousin Christian back on Football Then and Now. And we've got a Premier League weekend preview, Chris. We've selected 3 games, haven't we? Great to have you back. And we're going to go into the Time Weird Derby first and foremost. That's going to be the one because it's the biggest game.
You've selected three. Well, mine is as against Chelsea. As against Chelsea is always, especially Stamford Bridge, is considering last season as well. It's always a dodgy one. But the other two, especially obviously Newcastle Sunderland, which is a feisty derby itself. Good. It's a good game to talk about.
The bad omen about Chelsea Everton when we get to it, though, mate, as well, is they're on a bit of a bad run. And it's like we're on a semi-decent run, aren't we? You know, we took 13 from 6. Yeah. But it just, I'm worried. And as you say, going down there, we don't do well down there. I think we've had draws at best at Stamford Bridge. But
yeah, and I remember that one time that John Terry scored that goal to equalise it to make it 2-2, and it was completely offside. And somehow, obviously, before VR was in, even though I'd say that Stuart, VR was still giving it, and he was completely offside anyway.
So we will get to that. I'm going to obviously open with Sunderland, Newcastle, of course. Sunderland have been doing absolutely fantastic. Lost last weekend, of course. Newcastle, a bit iffy, but they are trying to balance Champions League as well. Played Leverkusen last night, got a draw away. They did go 2-1 up, of course. I think Sunderland's going to be tough. I think Sunderland are going to be very tough for him, mate.
I think Sunderland have bought fantastically well. And, obviously in summer, Xhaka, obviously we all know Xhaka through all the Arsenal days, but he's a steal in that midfield, and we saw that when we played them. And I think a lot of teams that have gone up and played Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, the Arsenals and the Liverpools, including ourselves, even though I'd say the first half we should have scored more than we obviously we did. They're resilient, and they've got a group of good young youth players around Xhaka with all that experience in the middle that can control that for them. And it's good to see as well, Stuart, because we're looking at the likes of the other teams that have come up. Obviously I know Leeds won on the weekend, didn't they? And Burnley aren't having the greatest times. More so at their place, they're doing well, but away again, Burnley don't really do well away. But Sunderland's have been on form. Yeah, they've lost a few, but they haven't lost let's just say how they would have been when they were in the Premier League previously.
100%. They've been the surprise package early on, of course. Nobody expected it. We said earlier on in the season, in the summer, of course, when they were signing a lot of these players, they threw quite a bit of money, didn't they? They did throw quite a bit of money at it. Again, I wasn't 100% on some of them lads that came in. I didn't know fair few of them, but they've been really, really good. The AFCON is going to be a big sticking point for them, though, as well. They've got a lot of players going over to the tournament. So it'll be interesting to see when those guys go, of course, the effect that may have, because those lads have been very, very strong for them early on.
Yeah, and I think they've got the most players going to AFCON, haven't they, out of all the Premier League teams as well, which is obviously this is going to be a challenge for them to see, if they can keep the quality they've got with the second tier of their players that can come on and take the positions. Obviously we're going to have to do the same. Arsenal, all the clubs that are losing. Mo Salah, I know he's not in form with Liverpool at the moment. Probably not their best guy to talk about when it comes to Liverpool at the moment. But he is a quality, world class player. You're still losing him out for a month, aren't you? So a lot of teams are going to suffer. But as you say, Sunderland are thinking I think it's about 6 or 7 players from Sunderland that are going to the AFCON. So it's a sticky one, come to January. Do you sign players on loan to cover bases? Because if you look at it, I don't know Sunderland in and out to know if they've got enough quality to replace the players that are going.
It's going to be a big hit. It's going to be a big hit for sure. Not writing off Newcastle. I said it's going to be a tough one going up there. Newcastle stuffed us the other week. We allowed that from minute one, didn't we? We've come off the back of that, and we've got the results in again. But yeah, we didn't mark up for the corners, did we? We were horrific. They're strong. They are strong. They've got big lads, haven't they? The midfield, as we've spoken about time and time again, very, very strong. I like Nick Voltemade. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Old-fashioned centre forward the way he plays, but he's everywhere, that lad, and he's getting the goals. He's putting goals in as well. And they've had Lewis Hall come back as well, haven't they? Tino Livramento's back. They've got a strong team, but again, it's balanced in Champions League as well with that squad. I'm finding they can be a bit iffy in the league at times.
Yeah, and I think obviously they've only just got back into the Champions League from 2 seasons ago, didn't they? And they had a great showing the first time around. And then you saw towards the end of that first season, they were in the Champions League. Not the very first time, because we know they've been in it in the 90s. But, since they've got the money and they've started to progress better with Eddie Howe, they had an off-season, didn't they? The season they got into the Champions League. This one, they've been better at home, but dreadful away. Minus beating us by a significant amount of goals. And I do agree, but, they were fantastic on the counter-attack against us. And I don't think Keane and Tarkowski could handle Voltemade well enough. For a big guy, he can hold the ball up and he can move and he can push defenders back to get Barnes and I think it's Joe Murphy on the left-hand side. He plays on the left, doesn't he? And, he can hold up that play and get other players into the game as well. So they've done well replacing Isak with him. If you look at, the coin here, where Isak went for a lot of money, hasn't really made an impact at Liverpool at the moment. Nick Voltemade has come in, isn't he? Expensive, their most expensive purchase, and he's hit the ground running. And you say, Stuart, his old-fashioned traits. He's not a bundle of pace, but what he does is really, really good. You enjoy watching that.
Lewis Miley as well. He's come in more recently, as I know he's had games here and there, isn't he? But he's been scoring. He scored again last night. He's come in. You can see what Eddie Howe's trying to do. He's having to rotate, isn't he? With all the games, of course, he's having to do that. And with the players coming back and what have you, it's heavy on rotation. It has to be, doesn't it? It just has to be. But again, I've got a feeling Sunderland are going to edge this game, mate. I've just got it in my head. I don't know why. I think
alienate some Newcastle fans on our channel.
Oh God, they're not going to like this, are they? They're not going to like it.
They're not.
But Arsenal the other week went up there and drew. It's a real tough place to go. We found that out as well.
Yeah, well, we did. Again, the only arguments I'll have is the first off against Sunderland. When we were up there, we were all over them. We just didn't, obviously Njai scored an absolute mental goal, showed off his skill, and we all know what Njai's all about, But we had chances, Barry's miss, it was just the sheer near misses with Everton, which has been up front this season. But, Sunderland come back into the game in the second half. They scored an early goal, didn't they, which was heavily deflected by Tarkowski. And they were back in the game. And I think we struggled then pretty much, that second half to, get in front and to make them up for that, take it to them. So it's just one of them. But again, I said to you, they bought young and they bought talent. They use that Bellingham money very well as well. And then, you look at him. He's gone to Dortmund, and all I hear about is him complaining he's not getting in the team, which is surprising me. He made that move to Dortmund and didn't try his chance in the Premier League, for at least one season.
Yeah. See how he went. Definitely.
Yeah,
I agree. Isidore was scoring goals early on, and then Robbie's been getting in there while Isidore has gone off the boil slightly, not scoring as many. So they've had goals coming in, and as you alluded to earlier, Xhaka, brought in. He's the captain, so much experience previously, and he's come in and he's been absolutely brilliant, leading from the front, and he was pivotal against us, of course. So they're going to be tough.
Yeah.
Well, how do you think it'll go? is it going to be Sunderland or Newcastle? What's your prediction before we move on?
I'm going to say this because, we're Everton and we know what derbies are all about. And, we've been through seasons where, especially say the 90s, we were dreadful and we go and beat Liverpool, obviously, and have been for a long, long time, miles ahead of us. I don't know whether maybe the allure of Newcastle coming up and the first derby in the Premier League now, Stu, in many a years could be the differ here. And Newcastle have just got a good, a good draw away Bayern Leverkusen. Bayern Leverkusen equalised quite late on as well. So, they got to take some positives out of that. I'm probably going to be on the fence with this one, and I'll probably say 1-1 with this one.
Okay, yeah, I'll go with that. I'm going to go with the Sunderland win. I'm not going to do a score, but it will be tight. It will be tight. Maybe I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. But again, Newcastle on their day they can score. I just think it's totally different. As you say, it's a derby. It's totally different.
Things go out the window.
I'm gonna move us along. Now we go to Stamford Bridge on Saturday, of course, and we're in relative good form after the kicking against Newcastle. We've come out of it, and as I said earlier, 13 points from the last 6, which been absolutely incredible. Great turnaround, of course. But Chelsea are not in form. They've gone how many games without a win? And I'm panicking. I'm panicking now, mate, because they're due to win. As you said, we don't travel well down there. We were beat 6-0. 6-0 last season, of course. Not good at all. But yeah, what do you think for this one, mate?
I think obviously you don't change much with us. I know, again, we are a makeshift still with certain players we're missing. And the players have stepped up. I mean, I'm having a chance to speak to you, obviously, because I've been away for 3 months about, how we've been. Been very impressed with Michael Keane, considering the guy was, about to leave us in the summer. He signed a 1-year contract just to be, the cover for Brantford. Brantford obviously hasn't been able to kick a ball this season so far. And him and Tarkowski have been, they have had their moments, don't get me wrong, but they've been very solid. The right-back situations is still where we are getting caught out quite vigorously in games. Jake O'Brien isn't a right-back. We know that. He's a centre defender. And you look at Chelsea and then you look what their wingers can do against someone who's not a right winger. It does worry me. They're not going to beat him if the ball's up in the air, no, of course. But they've got pace, they've got skill. And you look at players when O'Brien's against a very heavily skill-based speedster on the wing, he does struggle. I think we'll be okay in the midfield. I think Dewsbury Hall and Garner were really, really good against Forest. Surprisingly, it did show me that there could be life after Idrissa Gueye with them two in the midfield. In the centre, I like Charlie being at number 10 role. He carries the ball really well. The thing is with that is it's like if we're going to have chances, shoot, we've seen enough of this season is we don't take our chances. And we do make a lot more than we have done for a long time because we've got the quality, but we don't put them away. I know Barry's scored on the weekend and, all of us were chuffed, but it's not enough, is it? As much as I was happy for him and I'm glad he got happy he got off the mark, but we need better in him to be putting in, the ball in the back of the net more than once. And obviously they both scored once this season, and it's not good enough. And we know Grealish isn't really a natural goal scorer; he's a creator. And Jai, again, he does, but people are starting to sort of occupy him a bit more. I don't know if you must have noticed in the last games.
Definitely.
He hasn't been as busy. But then again, we're losing him to AFCON. But then I feel like Tyler Diblin, that should be time for Tyler Diblin to sort of show off his.
I did on the grapevine just talking about Diblin. I did from lad in work. He's heard about it. Homesick Tyler Diblin apparently. So much so that the family had been moved up this end at Northwest. Because I was saying, what about game time for him? Leading up to this, because when we lose in Jai, he needs game time. Yeah. Anyway, lad in work was saying he's heard that there's been homesickness on his end, but Everton as a club, supporting him and all that, because it might make us understand why he's only had like 70 odd minutes of football.
Well, it doesn't help when you've got Grealish and Ndiaye in form, and they're both occupying both left and right wing. I'm not sure why Dwight McNeil's been getting game time. I know he was one of our best players for the last couple of seasons, but this season he just doesn't seem. You know what I mean? When he comes on, I know he has like not really an expression in his face, as he is quite, but he hasn't. To me, I look at Dwight McNeil and I look at a player that he's come down a pecking order now. He doesn't want to be here, and he wants first team football, which is fair enough. And a lot of players do want first team football, but I'm not understanding where Dibben is not fitting when he's not getting these 10 or 5 minutes that McNeil's getting instead of him. Unless David Moyes has got something he can see. He did it, didn't he, with Baines and Lescott, and eventually Lescott moved into the middle and Baines took over the left. We did it with Seamus and he did it with Seamus and Hibbert, didn't he? And eventually Seamus took over. You know what I mean? I do trust David Moyes in that sense. He's not been always fantastic when it comes to youth players. He has given them chances. So it's one of them where I think he'll get his time. And he's a young lad, and I can understand why he'd be homesick.
Mm.
He's lived down south all his life. He's not lived up north. It's a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it?
I'd not heard anything on that, but it kind of makes sense. I don't know whether it was a podcast he's listened to within the club or whatever, or something somewhere. Because it was unbeknownst to me that there was a problem, but it would make sense in a way. But as you say, I think you've got to get him on at some point, and you've got to get him on for a bit longer, because when we lose, the man to Senegal, we've got to have him getting in and firing, haven't we?
Can't have McNeil replacing Ndiaye. I'm sorry, but
you're not happy about this.
No, but he's not. But the thing is, he's not. He's heavily left-footed.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, and you know what I mean. That Tyler Dibben was bought for that.
Yeah, to serve that purpose.
Eventually, yeah, but he was. We know that the score that eventually he'll move into the middle. That's the plan. That's from what I've heard. Is they see him eventually moving into the 10 in central position, which is great. But we need to see something. We need to see him getting minutes and progressing with the team, because at the moment we've seen him in drips and drabs. Awful run, showings in the Carabao Cup against Wolves, which is not his fault.
You can't buy a frigging win.
No.
But they did against us on that night.
But, against Chelsea, going back now to this weekend, history will tell you that when we go to Stamford Bridge, or actually if we go to London, really, in general, we shit the bed. There's only a few handful of games I think I can see that we've gone away and we've won, and Stamford Bridge hasn't been one of them since I think the 90s, Stu, when we beat Chelsea. We've been close again. I spoke about it at the beginning of the show when John Terry scored that farty back Ely off his arse goal that went in when he was completely offside, and we were in control of that game. I think it was Funes Mori, and then Morales did that really good volley on the turn in the box. When Morales was, on fire, when he wasn't kicking up a fuss. But Chelsea have players that can hurt us. That's the thing is, and you said at the beginning of the show, they can't buy a win. Well, here comes Everton.
We do like to give
freebies out.
That's going to be in everyone's mind. Of course it is, because definitely, and Palmer's slowly coming back, and my worry is he's gonna start firing on Saturday. I hope that doesn't happen, and he's come back off the injuries and what have you. But I'm hoping we can get a point down there at the very least. But I'm worried, mate. I'm worried, but we've had good results leading into these games with Chelsea and Arsenal, haven't we, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There's confidence there within the team. And Chelsea, as you say, they can't buy a win, but they have players. Estivo, I've said to you, Stuart, for a good couple of years about him. And obviously seen him in the Prem, and you can see what the quality he's got. And again, he's another young player. I think that's got such a high ceiling that he'll surpass Chelsea at some point. I can see it. Pedro Neto, is coming into form now, hasn't he? He didn't really hit the ground running last season, but you can see he's scoring goals. Midfield, Chelsea's midfield is jam-packed full of class players. Defence, I think Chelsea you can get at, and I still don't think they're very comfortable with the goalkeepers. As much as Sanchez, he's not a bad goalkeeper. He was always solid for Wigan. I think it was when he was at Wigan. No, it wasn't Wigan,
Brighton. Sanchez.
Yeah. And he was a solid goalkeeper then. So, I do rate him. He's a good goalkeeper. But he's not the levels where Chelsea want to be.
Chelsea fan who I know, he just goes mad that Esteval's not playing enough, just to go to your point there. Because he says when he starts running at you with the ball, and he said, he's young, but he's in the camp that he has to be starting more games because he's been in and out. He's been a little bit in and out, with Maresca. Yeah. So he basically reiterating what you're saying about the talent of that lad.
Well, they've got Gittins as well, and I think Gittins is a talented player. He was really, really good for Dortmund, for a number of years in the Bundesliga. Pace, we can. This is what again he's someone that if you put up against O'Brien, unless O'Brien can stick to these type of players and make it difficult for them. If they're in one-on-one situation with O'Brien, he's gonna lose that because he's not got that kind of pace. He's fast. Don't get me wrong, O'Brien, but he's not rapid. Mykolenko, I think Mykolenko normally actually does quite well with players that have got a bit of pace, and he does literally sit on them in most games. The only thing is when they get past him, he does struggle. But then I look at the front line. Who's up front at the moment for Chelsea? Is it João Pedro, or is João Pedro injured?
He's fit, but obviously again, what's his face is out again, isn't he? Delap's injured again. He's been out. He's been out so much for him. But João Pedro has been the man there, isn't he? He's had to be. But I think with Palmer, prior to Palmer getting injured, them two were linking up very well. There was goals, wasn't there? And them two together, that's my worry there. But Liam Delap just can't keep fit, can he?
Which is unfortunate. He's just having one of those seasons. I suppose like Jared Branthwaite's having one of those seasons at the moment where they just can't catch a break. Again, I look at Liam Delap, and did he go to Chelsea? Was that the right decision? I'd probably say no. I think a club like us, or a club like us, not just Everton, but a club like us, I think he would have flourished at. But hey ho, these are decisions these footballers make. But I like João Pedro as well, Stu. I think he's solid.
He's good. He's a good player, and again, done it for a number of years prior, hasn't he, to go in there and. He's been very, very good. But again, we will see with that. Are we going to predict? Are we going to predict our fate here? Because this is hard. This is tough. My heart is saying a draw. A draw. My head thinks we're going to get beat, mate. And I hate to be like this because I want us to win every single game that we go into.
Yeah, but you know what? You do beat teams eventually, and records are there to be broken. So why not this season? Why Chelsea are in a low? Why can't we go back? We go there this Saturday. Barry scored his first goal, and I'll go 2-1 Everton.
There you go. You've been bolder than me. You've been bolder than me, and I like it.
Why not? We can't always lose at Chelsea. There's going to be a point in this. We got to beat them eventually.
We got our third ever win in the Premier League at Old Trafford recently, mate. Away, we went to Bournemouth. Bournemouth, as bad as the form has been, they hadn't lost at home until we went down there and won. So we might be a tougher commodity on the road, even with the 3-0 win at home last week.
At the moment, I'd say. But I think we're playing a much better away, Stuart, under David Moyes than we have done for a long, long time.
I think we'll fare better in this game than we will when Arsenal come to our place. I've got to be honest. When I was looking at the two fixtures, I was like, you'd be looking at Chelsea and thinking we can get something. Arsenal, it's the home fans behind us, but they've been brilliant, haven't they?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we're still learning. Hill Dickinson, I hate saying the name, but it is what it is, and it's the stadium's name. But we're still, everyone's still getting used to it. The players are still getting used to it. At the end of the day, we have gone and won games there. We've lost 2, which against 2 big teams, and it is one of them. But we're still getting used to the stadium. What people don't realise is, this is the first season there, and We've only, everyone's still, included us, going to watch it, and we're still getting used to it. It's not like Goodison Park. It's not, the fear factor is not there as such yet, and it'll come. It'll come, of course, it'll come. But yeah, I'm confident, and I think it's about time we went and beat Chelsea. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with.
I'm going to go with 1-1, mate. I'm going to go 1-1, but I hope we can go down there and get the win, keep this going, keep this momentum going, keep pushing in these European places, mate. Because
why not?
A lot of, we were getting predicted. These predicted tables and all this that they do. I don't pay half the time. We put all the stats in. We put the Opta in. You're going to finish 14th. Then I saw 12. I thought, oh yeah, 12 maybe. Now because of where we are, it's like, why not push for Europa? Or
but what have you got to lose?
I'd even take the Conference League, Chris. Just to get us back.
I'd take any European competition.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd just take finishing in the top half, if I'm honest with you. Considering what we've had to go through the last couple of years, anything from 9th and anything else above that's a bonus.
Absolutely. And we've got fight in this team, and yeah, it's gonna be a big game out on Saturday. Looking forward to it. To get to the last bit now, Palace versus City. Second playing fourth, of course. City have been getting back into that form again. They'd lost 4 games, hadn't they? It looked like the league was gone maybe a couple of months ago. They'd had a really bad time of it, and they've seemed to have come out of it. Arsenal have dropped points, so they're back. City are back in the hunt, aren't they? For the title. But Palace are going great too. They're playing this evening in Europe, of course. But they're in fourth, so they're still managing to balance Europe and the league, aren't they? So this is going to be one hell of a game at Selhurst Park.
And it's hard to think, really, because when you look at Palace and who they've lost, Zaha went, Elise went, Eze gone in the summer, and you did think, and then they didn't buy till quite late in the summer window as well, and you did worry for them because those 3 players. I know Mateta's been a talisman for them, but he hits and misses for me. I think he scores really good goals, like the harder goals. But when it comes to the easy ones, the one-on-ones, you do see him miss. But I thought they were going to struggle after losing Eze. Because, again, he's a talisman, like Elise was and Zaha was. But they bought quiet and they bought well. And they've kept going, and you've got to give them hats off with that. Like, I like Adam Wharton. I think he's a class player, and I think, again, he's another player I see a massive ceiling on him. And whether they get to keep him, if he goes to the World Cup and he starts, which in form terms, you'd say yes, he should start. They'll be struggling to hold on to him next, which I do hope they do. They just got quality all round, and City and Palace, Palace have always had a sort of, every time they played City, they seem to sort of raise the game. I know a lot of teams, when they play the bigger teams, they raise the game, but Palace seem to always have one on City, don't they? If you look over the years, Palace have pushed City harder than most teams have, and have come away with points as well. But as you say with Man City, is the door's open now. After, obviously Villa and Buendia scored that goal, and I'm sure Brady must have been punching walls or something on Saturday afternoon when that went in. And, good for them because Villa were fantastic in that game. City, obviously, on that run now, Stu, and I think people get the team's obviously not lost as many players. There's no, they haven't got the Rodri injuries, which they have struggled with last season without him. And defensively, they were a bit all over the place, weren't they? This season, at the beginning, was a bit ropey. But yeah, it seems that they're on track now. And they see that door open that Arsenal have left. And you can only see Pep Guardiola's, looking at that. We're going straight for it now. The door's open. We're only 3 points behind them. Yeah, we have to keep winning.
It's always been the long game with him. Even when they've had like a few iffy, games or what have you, he's always seemed to. They don't switch off, do they? And they're looking at it longer. It's always like short term. They've had like 3 or 4 losses. Now it's he knows it inside out and backwards, doesn't he? He absolutely does. And I've been impressed. You know, the lads that have come in. You know, they've had a lot of changes, haven't they? The new signings coming in, Cherky. You know, I think he could be a fantastic player for him. You're seeing little bits, little glimmers of him. So they've had a lot of change as well in that team, haven't they? I like Nico O'Reilly. I'm big on him. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, he's a good player.
But again, last night, mate, they've gone away to Madrid and they've won 2-1. Great result. Madrid were pinging shots from all sorts of angles last night. I was thinking one of these is going to go in. They had the barrage at one point, but they held firm, City. And, great win for them last night. But again, Palace.
Yeah.
Palace at Selhurst Park as well, mate. It won't be easy, as you were saying.
And I mean, we've been fortunate to go to Palace and not lose in the last couple, where we used to go to Palace and not get anything. But they are solid at home. Then they've got a good support for such a small ground as well. But there's history there with them, isn't it? They've gone through so much turmoil over the years until where they are now, where they are a solid team. They're playing in Europe, and they won the FA Cup. They won the Charity Shield, so they've got a lot to shout about. I'm not sure if we do have Palace fans watching us. This all Henderson and Pickford, who's the better goalkeeper and who should start in England number one. You all have to clear heads here and say Pickford is better than Henderson, no matter if Henderson's won a trophy or not. Just want to put that out there.
I'd say again,
but I do like Dean.
But Daniel Munoz, he's been absolutely brilliant. We've spoken about him on this show before.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic player. For City, though, Foden, oh my days, he seems to have got back into his old form because he'd gone missing. He'd gone missing for a while, hadn't he? He really had. But he's been prolific recently, hasn't he? It's like the Foden of old. So many key battles in this game. And, Mark Gay is still there. But for how much longer? But he's been Mr. Consistent.
Yeah.
He's been absolutely brilliant.
I'll let you obviously carry on in a minute, but I'm just going to say,
you
got to give props to Gahey. The props to Gahey, obviously, his move to Liverpool fell through towards the end, which is fair enough because they weren't going to replace him. So you do pull the plug. But the respect I give him so more for is the consistency. He hasn't fallen off because he didn't get the move. He's carried on putting in, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 performances. And hasn't let anything distract him. Knowing he's going into January where he can sign for any European club as well, Stuart. He hasn't let anything distract him. And I think players like that are 10 to a dime, really. You don't find many players that didn't get that big move and put a solid shift in until they get the move. They dig their heels, don't they? And they throw the toys out the pram, where he's been, as you said, Mr. Consistent.
Richard Crowhurst in the comments there, my guys. All right, Rich. Hope you're well, mate.
Yes.
I've got one more thing before we go, Chris, because it's in the news. It's been the big story. Mohamed Salah. There's no coming back from this now, surely. He's just, I don't know how that fallout can be resolved, and it's been very much in the press. He's not going to play for Liverpool again in my mind. But what do you think?
So I've obviously only heard bits and pieces of it. Usually I'm not really bothered about. I've been quite enjoying Liverpool's downfall this season, so I've been quite enjoying that. But I feel like he was ready to go a few seasons ago, wasn't he? And I was speaking to Gav, who's a massive Liverpool fan, who's one of my mates, and he's like what you just said then. No, can't come back now. Can't come back. And I'm like, what about everything he's done? And he's like, it doesn't matter. He hasn't played well for the last 12 months. And I was like, well, he wanted to go last season before he signed. You know what I mean? That was the whole rumours, wasn't it? He was going to go, and then all of a sudden, him and Van Dijk signed these 2 big contracts. And I'm thinking, was he forced into that contract? Did he really want to sign that contract? Because he's done everything now. He hasn't got anything to prove in the Premier League, has he? To be honest with you, he's been prolific. He's been outstanding. There isn't many players in the last 10 years you can mark the Premier League standard now next to him. But then if you've fallen out with the manager and you've had you know what I mean, you've had enough. I suppose what do you do? And if is Moha Salah going to be the only player that comes out and says something against Arne Slot? Because they don't look happy, do they? You know, the changes, and it doesn't seem right at Liverpool at the moment. Yes, I know they won in midweek in the Champions League, didn't they, against Inter away? But in the Premier League, they haven't looked. They haven't gelled, have they?
It's the amount of goals that were going in at Anfield of all places. Because no matter how bad it's been over the years when they've had the struggles and that, and not been where they, felt they should have been, they were never getting beaten 3 or 4. The PSV loss, I just thought, oh my days, they just totally capitulated, and then they lost to Forest, didn't they? It's all 3-0. It was the amount of goals that were going in them games, but. Take the PSV game out of it, I think there'll be less pressure in the Champions League. I think they probably will pick the results up there as they did, in the San Siro. I think it's just tougher in the Premier League. And I just think the depth of the Premier League, and I think they've been found wanting, haven't they? And they've been sussed out. They've been sussed out as well. And he still doesn't know his best 11, I don't think. He's been tinkering with things, hasn't he? He's been changing things. And they spent all that money in the summer, Chris. This is what a lot of the fans are saying, aren't they? We spent a lot of money, by our standards, and it's not paying off early on, is it? It's not been instant for them. I just think he doesn't know his best starting 11. I think that's been his Achilles heel, in my opinion.
Question to you.
Yeah.
Would this have happened if Klopp was still in management?
I've been thinking about this. I've been asked about this from a Liverpool fan, being an outsider. Exactly what you asked me last week, I think it was. And I said it wouldn't have happened in the Klopp because he wouldn't have allowed it to happen. They might have had like one iffy result, maybe, in amongst all this, not the amount of losses they've had. No way. It just wouldn't have occurred, just the way he manages the team and how he plays it. And I think Slot's been found wanting, maybe. He inherited that team last year, so it was kind of set up for success. They've signed new people. I mean, maybe that's the case where it was. He's come in, he's had that season bounce, hasn't he, off the back of Klopp going, and now it was like he's got to put his ideals in and stuff like that and get his players in and the ones he wants. Frimpong's been out, hasn't he? I think that's been a big loss for him. But yeah, in answer to your question, this wouldn't have happened in the Klopp. They wouldn't have lost all these games. They wouldn't have been on bad run as they've been on, and they certainly wouldn't have conceded all them goals at Anfield, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I feel like when I totally agree with you. I think the team was more together, wouldn't they? And I don't know. When one of my mates said to me that he didn't think that Wirtz and Isak was Slot signings, that he didn't want them. That's come from, above. Which, they might have more insight than we do in the feelings of the signings they made this season. He was saying to me that they're looking at Semenyo in January. Would Semenyo want to go there? I know he's got a 60 million release clause, but, do you want to go there at the moment? And if he does go there, what does that do to Isak and Ekitike? And you just you're doing a Chelsea in some way, aren't you? Just stockpiling players in one position. I don't know. It's a difficult one going back to Mo Salah. I think I don't like the whole burning of his shirt. I know they did this with Gerrard when he was potentially going to Chelsea, and I know that our lovely neighbours can be a bit cuckoo sometimes over certain things, and then if you did it, they'll start laughing at you. I do quite enjoy the devastating things at the moment, because for some time we've seen all this. It's nice that we're in a good place where we're doing really well and they're doing shit, and I quite enjoy seeing it. It won't live forever. Of course it won't live forever, because Liverpool are a massive, massive club. But at this moment in time, I'm actually enjoying the disarray. And one of their top stars, one of their best players that has been for probably the last decade, doesn't want to be there anymore. And I'm enjoying it. It's like eating cake in it and just enjoying what's going around. Or that meme of Michael Jackson eating popcorn in the cinema.
Oh God, yeah, the old thriller.
I'll eat that all day long, but is there a way back for Salah? Of course, there's a way back. Look at all the players over the times that have done stupid shit. Carlos Tevez, when he's at Man City, went off and played golf for how many months, then come back and was firing all cylinders. I just don't understand why. Like, you a player like that who's done so much for the club. He has made silly comments, yes, but then we don't know what's gone behind the scenes between him and Slot and the coaching staff at Liverpool for him to feel the way he does. You've got to let bygones be bygones, because he's done so much for your club. Because if you look back and you take away what he did for Liverpool, I feel like you're looking at a lot of stuff they would have missed out if they didn't have Salah.
100%.
That's my 10 pence on it. Anyway.
No. It's valid. It's valid. It's can they come back round and sort it out, and he's back in the team? You got to look at it from both sides of the coin here, because it could very well happen, couldn't it? They could sort it. It's just so much has been said. I find it hard to see it getting sorted, but it could be Saudi, couldn't it? It could be Saudi, the big move, and they can make money on him, can't they?
Yeah.
Still, because he signed that contract, of course. So they can still make money, even with him at his age. They can still pull the money, and it'll be interesting to see. Chris, it's my fault because I moved us along. We didn't do predictions for Palace City. So just before we go, just your prediction for Palace City, mate.
I'm going to go 2-1 City, and no slight on Palace, because I think Palace have been fantastic for the last season and this season. They've kept going and kept that momentum going. I just think City have got those wheels burning now, Stu. You know what City are like when those wheels are burning and they get going? They're untouchable. And I feel like, obviously, with Arsenal losing last week, the doors are open now, and they have to get and catch up with Arsenal. Otherwise, Arsenal, I don't take it lightly, they lost against Villa, because I still think they'll come back and win this weekend themselves. They're a solid team, and Mikel Arteta's done a fantastic job there. I just think City, once they get going, they'll chase now, and this is where can Arsenal keep the momentum going, because last time this happened, they buckled, didn't they? And City won it.
Christmas is going to be mad, and it's good. It's good having a title race, of course. I'm thinking 3-1 City. I'm just thinking the amount of goals they're scoring. I think with Foden, I think Foden's getting back to his best. I really, really do. Haaland, just the whole team. I like that Reinders as well. I really do. And Doku out wide, it's just been incredible for him. Just when he starts running, I was watching him last night. It's just panic stations when he's coming at you. So they've got. They've got a strong team, as we know, and he's got players that can come in as well. Of course, he's got depth, hasn't he? He really has. Notwithstanding, though, Arsenal have got depth. Arsenal have got depth in their squad as well now, which they probably didn't have previously, and they've been doing it without Gabriel and Saliba at the back, haven't they?
Yeah, and it did show last against Villa on the weekend. Yes, you could see that they missed them terribly, because I don't think they would have conceded the goals they did if them two were playing. But you got to look at the whole all round. I love Eze, Saka, and I liked all that. And when they signed Eze, and we spoke about Eze potentially going to Arsenal at the beginning of the summer, it's going to be a good, towards the end, from now to the end of the season. There's just going to be so many twists and turns. And I still think it'll just be City and Arsenal. They're going to be head to head all the way now.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a race this year for sure. Definitely. Thank you very, very much. Great having you back after 3 months of not being on the show. We're going to be back.
Glad to be back.
Definitely, mate. It's been great. We'll do a current one next week, and we're going to do a little pre-tape of a retro thing, but we don't know as yet what the topic is. We're going to work towards that. We've got something over Christmas to put out when we're off for the festive period, of course. And we'll see you very, very soon for another episode of Football Then and Now. And thank you very much.
Take it easy.
Football Then and Now, a fun